Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Tom Worth Jr. Today I wanted someone to explain to me from the Trump negotiating team what the difference between the Sudetenland in 1938 and Ukraine and the Donbass right now, today, is, because I don't see one. If you're interested in this stuff, the parallels are obvious with the appeasement of Hitler in the 30s by Neville Chamberlain. And all the talk from the Trump team is he's doing this because he wants a Nobel Peace Prize, which is completely ridiculous. And I started thinking, things were so wacky in the 30s and post World War I. Did Neville Chamberlain actually get, not a Nobel Peace Prize? Surely not, right? But did he actually get nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize? And he actually did, by some members of Swedish Parliament. But that was crazy to most people. And there was another member of Swedish Parliament that mockingly then in response to that, nominated Adolf Hitler for the Nobel Peace Prize, kind of immediately after these Swedish, I think it said it was 12 members of Swedish Parliament had nominated Mr. Peace in Our Time himself, Neville Chamberlain. So this other guy in Parliament was just so shocked by that he said, you know what, if you're going to nominate the guy who allows Hitler, who appeases Hitler — appeasing was a word in use at that time as well to describe what was being done to avoid confrontation with Hitler at all costs. World War I was still too close in their memories. Why not nominate the guy who's threatening to start this war himself for not actually starting the war today, for instead just being handed over the part of the country that he was threatening to invade? Since he didn't actually have to invade it, and he didn't, why not just give that guy the Nobel Peace Prize, right? And a lot of people took him seriously, and he immediately had to retract that nomination of Hitler and say, no, this was complete irony, and this was sarcasm at its highest level. And it was, if you read his nomination, it is very clearly sarcastic. I wish someone from Trump himself, Stephen Miller, Witkoff, it's just somebody, Marco Rubio, would be forced to sit down on 60 Minutes and go point by point why this isn't exactly 1938 Hitler dealings with Neville Chamberlain. It's the exact same situation. The Sudetenland was a part of Czechoslovakia, just the part that bordered Germany. And sorry, I'm doing this in my mind, so it's going to look opposite to you. There was 3 million ethnic Germans in the Sudetenland, in Czechoslovakia. So not the part that included Prague, but it's just a swath. And if you look at it, it looks a lot like the swath of eastern Ukraine. So we're talking western Czechoslovakia bordering Germany, but the Donbass is eastern Ukraine going up towards Russia. And there's a lot of ethnic Russians or Russian speakers in that area of the Ukraine, just like there were in Crimea. And that's how it was in the Sudetenland. And Hitler just said, I'm going to go make that, I'm going to annex that, I'm going to make that part of Germany. That just makes sense. And Czechoslovakia said, no, you can't. No, don't. Hitler was going to do it anyway. So Benito Mussolini and Hitler and Neville Chamberlain from Britain, and I don't know the name of the French guy who was in on this. They decide in a room to just give Hitler the Sudetenland, and in exchange for Hitler agreeing not to invade the rest of Czechoslovakia or anywhere else. That's all you want, right, buddy? Okay, you got it. Also notably, and see if this sounds familiar, the Czechoslovakian delegation was not even allowed in the meeting room while the details were being worked out. They were kept in a room outside of the meeting room. And then the four other parties emerged and said, okay, this is what we've all just agreed to. And Czechoslovakia's like, what? What are you talking about? But that happened. That's what Trump is trying to do with Putin, with Witkoff, with Ukraine, just trying to keep them out of it entirely. But Europe and Ukraine learned the lessons of the 1930s, learned the lessons of dealing with a dictator and how you cannot appease it. Remember, Putin already, I mean, this isn't a 3.5-year-old operation now. This is an 11-year-old operation now. It started with Putin taking Crimea, which was part of Ukraine, with a lot of Russian speakers in it. That was in 2014. So we already know that Putin doesn't stop when you appease him, when you just give him what he wants. We already know he doesn't stop because 8 years later, he invaded the rest of Ukraine. And everybody expected it to immediately fall. But it didn't, because we had Biden as the president who was giving all the intel to Ukraine and to the rest of Europe to defend Ukraine. So what did happen? Okay, let's go back to the 30s again. What happened when Neville Chamberlain comes back with his piece of paper, Peace for Our Time, and people immediately recognize it as a disaster? What did Hitler then do? Well, 6 months later, he invaded the rest of Czechoslovakia. And it immediately fell. Why did it immediately fall? Well, Czechoslovakia wasn't geared up for war like Germany had been doing for years, but all of its defenses were in the Sudetenland. That was the part that butted up against Germany. That was what they had fortified to prevent any German invasion. Now, it would have fallen anyway. Germany had the Air Force, they had the tanks, they had all that stuff, but all of its fortifications were in the Sudetenland. So when you just hand that over to the aggressor, well, the rest of the country was defenseless. That was it. He's already in. He just has the whole country of Czechoslovakia laid out before him, completely defenseless. So 6 months later, he takes the rest of the country, and shortly after that, he invades Poland, because he didn't have to do anything to take all of Czechoslovakia. And we all know what happened from there in September 1939 when he invaded Poland. So if you give Putin what Ukraine has been fighting, that eastern front of Ukraine for 3.5 years now, 3 years and 9 months now, if you just hand that over to Putin, what's going to stop him from taking the rest of Ukraine? Especially when one of Putin's demands is that Europe has to agree not to take Ukraine into NATO, and Ukraine has to agree to dramatically reduce the size of their armed forces as a condition for this peace deal. Like, who would demand such a concession if you're not intending to further invade? Ukraine's never invaded anything, by the way. Putin is the only one who has. So he can't say it's because we think Ukraine might invade us. They've never done that. They never would. That Russia's a nuclear power. Ukraine's not going to invade Russia. So why would you demand that Ukraine has to pare down its armed forces and just give up the entire front right now? It's only to then overrun the rest of Ukraine. It's so obvious. It's painfully obvious. And right now, Witkoff is talking to Russia again. This morning, there was a leak that Bloomberg detailed about conversations with Witkoff and his Russian counterpart. And he's telling them how to convince Trump that your plan. He's telling the Russians how to sell Trump on their plan and get Trump to back the Russian plan. Witkoff, our delegate to getting a peace plan, right, is telling the Russians directly what works with Trump, what flattery, what exact words to use, congratulate him on the Gaza deal. He's telling him exactly how to influence Trump. How is that not treasonous? I don't know. But it is, because it's not in the interests of the United States to do this at all. It's in the interests of Vladimir Putin. So if you thought Trump was in the back pocket of Putin, check out Witkoff. Why is he Putin's handpicked diplomat to deal with from the United States? This is why he wants to deal with Witkoff and no one else, because Witkoff is giving him the goods on how to influence Trump. It's all it's all there for everyone to see. Why isn't everyone making the comparison every day? I get the Epstein files. We need to hammer on that every day. That's embarrassing to Trump. Why isn't everyone hammering on the Sudetenland in 1938 every day with Trump? With how he's trying to do that exact same plan. I don't know. It's right there. It's what Trump's trying to do. It's what Witkoff's trying to do. And it's what we cannot do. Europe understands this. Zelensky understands this. The Democrats in Congress understand this. Many Republicans in Congress understand this, but they won't speak up or say anything. Trump's the only one who doesn't understand this. And if he thinks he's getting a Nobel Peace Prize out of this, if you've listened to any of the Nobel Committee comment on that when asked, they don't want to talk about it, but just the way they dismiss it out of hand, no, absolutely not. There's nothing peaceful about what Trump is doing, especially in Gaza with the killing of all of the Palestinians by Israel, and Trump just wants a Nobel Peace Prize. He's never going to get it. If they could award an opposite of the Nobel Peace Prize, he would be vying with Netanyahu and Putin for that. He doesn't understand. That's just how delusional he is and always has been and remains. So, happy day before Thanksgiving to all of you all. Please like the video if you would like to, and subscribe and share it with others. Comment. I appreciate it, and have a great day.